Our hero Shiki has been reincarnated into another world as a healer, but he keeps finding himself in trouble, especially when it comes to curvy girls. However, he has some kind of stability now, as he was able to get back on good terms with his ex-boss Elise, and is still loved by his slave girl Yule. However, his journey will only continue to get more intense as time passes by. As of now, we know that Shiki was able to use the power of money to get Elise into his favor again. Yule has noticed this, and she feels worried because Elise has a curvy body with extremely massive twin peaks. In comparison, the slave girl is a flat table, so she feels she will lose out to Elise in the race to win Shiki's heart. She curses Elise's twin peaks once again and imagines Elise taunting her with her melons by saying she will make Shiki fall in love with her in no time. Of course, Yule fights back by saying Elise's body does not hold a candle to the relation she shares with her master. Now we come back to reality where Yule is told that she and Shiki will be moving to the clinic that he just bought for Elise. Since she used to own this place, the three of them will be living together from now on. The slave girl takes a look at her new home and is amazed to see how big it is compared to the inn room she was in before. Yule asks Shiki about his mini clinic at the bar, so he says that he will be working at the main clinic from now on. Keeping that in mind, he will reduce the number of appointments at the bar clinic, but also remembers that he will need to inform the bar master about it. Now, some time passes by, and even though Yule and Elise don't know each other that well, the slave girl grows closer to the curvy babe. It may be sudden, but at least Yule has a new friend now. She even looks at Elise's twin peaks differently now and imagines yet another chat wherein Elise says sorry to her for causing a mess. Of course, she does not have a problem with that anymore, because she is ready to follow whatever Shiki says to her. Elise tells Yule that from now on, she will sleep in the same room as her, but this is not something that she wants to do. After all, Yule likes to be in the same bed as her master, but Elise says that she can't keep doing that forever. She also says that even though nothing has happened till now, there is no telling when Shiki will act on his intrusive thoughts and do the unthinkable. Of course, this is a hilarious moment because our hero would never do such a thing to his slave girl. Elise tells Yule that there are a lot of empty beds in this clinic, so she can choose to sleep wherever she likes. Shiki agrees with this, even though he feels that Elise thinks of him as too much of a shady man. Then again, he admits that the stimulus his elephant gets simply from the presence of another girl could lead to more awkward situations like the one he had not too long ago. Despite these words, Yule is still not convinced about sleeping alone, so our hero tells her that if she feels lonely, then she can sleep with Elise as well. However, she takes this the wrong way and tells the curvy babe that Shiki had promised to embrace her when she would come to be of age. Due to this, there should be no problem with the two of them sharing a bed with each other. Of course, this leads to yet another odd situation where Shiki finds himself in trouble. Elise wants to make sure she heard this correctly, so she asks Yule to confirm these words. She then looks at our hero and asks him to explain this, but judging by her face, Shiki can tell that she is very angry right now. Of course, this is not jealousy or anything like that because it's in Elise's nature to be strict in such matters. After all, Yule is a very young girl, so she needs to be kept safe at all costs. Elise holds the slave girl and calls out Shiki for promising such a vile thing to Yule. Promising to embrace someone when they come of age is not exactly heroic behavior, so Elise continues to get angrier. Shiki can feel that Elise is looking at him like some kind of filth who had tricked an innocent slave girl to become a tool for his shady intentions. After all that Shiki has been through to make Elise like him again, he can't afford to have her hate him over something that is not even true. He asks the curvy babe to give him a chance to explain himself, and then he says that while he did promise such a thing to Yule, it was only to avoid hurting her feelings, as she is currently growing through a phase of adulthood. He had actually imagined himself to be a kind man while he said this, so it all turns out to be one big misunderstanding. Of course, this breaks Yule's heart, so she looks at her master with tears in her eyes to confirm what he just said to her. Our hero can't see Yule in this condition, so he says that was not the case. But now he ends up annoying Elise, who questions his intrusive thoughts. It's neither here nor there for our hero, so he takes a moment to collect himself. He needs to come up with a way to get out of this tricky situation. But he needs to be careful because he is risking the feelings of two girls over here. He tries a desperate attempt to flatter Elise by calling her a beauty, but she says that he is not fooling anyone with his fake compliments. Since he has no other option, Shiki pats Yule on the head and tells Elise that it is a complex scenario that he can't explain for now. Yule becomes happy when her master shows her affection, so Elise can see that the slave girl is really fond of him. Keeping this in mind, she agrees to let Shiki off the hook for now, so he can breathe a sigh of relief. However, Elise still maintains that sharing a bed with another man is not proper for a girl, unless she is married to him. She asks Yule to sleep with her instead if she is feeling lonely, but the slave girl does not seem to want this at all. She shows hesitation and Shiki notices this, so he wonders why Yule is being so resistant to such an idea. After all, she has never been selfish about anything even once up until this point. Elise is only saying these things because she cares for Yule, and to her, the slave girl wanting to be in bed with her master is an act of defiance. Yule must have realized this, which is why she is being so timid and bothered right now. The slave girl is unable to talk back to Elise, and she even has tears in her eyes, so our hero has had enough of this show. He calls himself a fool for just standing there and doing nothing at all for his slave girl. She is making such a sad face that anyone would want to cheer her up. So Shiki forgets everything else and tells her that he is sorry for making her feel this way. He says that they can sleep in the same bed for as long as she likes, even if it is forever. And then he hugs his slave girl to offer some comfort. Yule is pleased to hear this and calls out to her master for granting her wish. Now, Shiki tells Elise that she should allow this because there is nothing shady going on at all. She says it's fine as long as Yule is okay with it, but in this case, she will also join them. Now, this gets our hero's intrusive thoughts racing, because he thinks this is his chance to get lucky with Elise. However, when she said this, she meant sleeping in the same room, but in a different bed. This is a bummer for Shiki, because he had already imagined what all he was going to do with her after Yule would go to sleep. He does know that Elise is not the type who will open her heart to someone so easily, despite what happened back when they had their misunderstanding about the clinic. Since then, she has regained her composure and is back to the Elise that he knew. Having said that, this is the first time they are sleeping in the same room together, so that does count for something. Shiki frankly believes that their relationship has taken a step forward due to this. After all, he would hate to be kicked out of the clinic once again, so he makes a promise not to act shady with her twin peaks when she is asleep, and he is coming back from the toilet. Our hero means it this time, because he is a role model for Yule and can't afford to have her perception broken. The next day, Elise bakes some cookies for Shiki and Yule, so they happily accept the treat and enjoy it. Afternoon arrives with a clear sky and Elise's clinic should be open for business now, or at least that is what Shiki would like to say. The truth of the matter is that there is not a single patient who has come here ever since it reopened. Of course, our hero is worried about this, but Elise and Yule are only bothered about how tasty the cookie is. It could be that the patients have stopped coming after hearing the news of the clinic closing down. But Elise had written letters to all of her regulars to inform them about the clinic. If things are going to continue this way, then Shiki and Elise will just find themselves in the same position once again. Our hero feels that he should try to bring some patients from the town, so he tells Elise that he and Yule are going to the city to shop for some supplies. He also says that he'll advertise the clinic to the adventurers he knows in the town, so Elise cheers him on. Shiki does tell the bar master to inform Lulu and the others about him moving to Elise's clinic, but the main problem with this is the fact that the clinic is too far away from the labyrinth. Anyway, Shiki asks Yule if there's anything that she would like to buy, because she has earned a salary for all the work that she's put in so far. She's free to spend it as she likes. so she says that she will go to a store that has caught her attention. However, this is not your regular kind of store, because it deals in shady clothes that are used for unspeakable acts. Yule blushes and tells her master that she would like to buy one of the dresses on display, but he says that these clothes are for adults and not children like her. This is bad news for Shiki because he is attracting a lot of unwanted attention, as the women from around the area look at him as a shady man. Our hero then redirects Yule's attention to more suitable garments that would suit someone like her. He is ready to pay for these clothes as well, so he tries to suggest a few to his slave girl. After going through some options and trying his best to convince Yule to not go the shady way forward, our hero believes that maybe his slave girl just wants to try on something a bit different when compared to the rest. However, his efforts are of no use, as the item that Yule chooses is a bit too extreme, even for some adults. She asks her master if she looks good with it, but is also confused as to why it has an opening in the middle. Shiki needs to act fast, because things will only get worse for him if this continues in public. The women continue to look at our hero as a shady man, so he laments the fact that he can't explain to them how he's Yule's guardian in reality. He asks his slave girl why she keeps choosing the items that are risky, so she says that it's all because of Geyser. It turns out that he had told Yule to wear such clothes if she wanted to get closer to her master. Of course, this was the wrong kind of advice, but Geyser is drunk all the time, so Shiki tells Yule never to listen to anything he says ever again. After an awkward session, Yule gets what she wants, so Shiki tries to get away from the scene as fast as he can. However, his slave girl says that there is one more shop that she would like to go to. Shiki hopes that it's not some other twisted fantasy shop like the earlier one, but luckily it just happens to be an equipment store. There is no odd item in sight, so our hero can step inside without any fear or doubt. Now, Yule brings his attention to some kind of bracelet, which she says is a special magical tool that can help you get your life back after getting struck by a finisher move. She gives it to her master and asks him to think of this bracelet as a good luck charm. Shiki thanks her for the gift, but he knows that it's a bit too expensive judging from its abilities. He asks his slave girl if she is sure about this because she will have to spend all of her salary on it. She gives her master a sweet smile and says that she wanted to get him a present anyway, so it's fine. Our hero is blown away by how nice and selfless Yule is, so he asks the shop owner if there is another bracelet with a different color. At first, Yule is a bit worried because she thinks that Shiki did not like the one that she chose for him. But it turns out that he has bought one more bracelet for her as well. Our hero gives his slave girl the life bracelet and tells her that they now have a matching pair, so it makes her very happy. Now we move to the clinic at night, where Shiki thinks about the purchase that he just made for Yule. Of course, he felt bad that he was the only one to get something, which is why he ended up buying a life bracelet for Yule as well. Now our hero performs an appraisal and brings out his stats bar for some analysis. He scans the bracelet and learns that it is a protective tool which indeed has the ability to counter a finisher move capable of taking a person's life. Since it can only be used one time, the bracelet will break after getting the job done. Shiki knows that Yule will get sad if her gift to him were ever to break, so he hopes that such a day should never come. Suddenly, there is someone coming into the clinic, so our hero wonders who it could be. Elise shows up and says that it could be a patient with an emergency case. Shiki decides to go take a look, and he sees that it's none other than Lulu, who has come with her girlfriends, Fran and Syrah. They don't look like they're doing too well, so Elise has to get to work instantly. She uses her healing powers on Fran and Syrah, so they're doing fine for now. But the only thing that's on Shiki's mind is the last time he and Lulu saw each other at this clinic. It was when he let his intrusive thoughts win, which had led to him getting kicked out in the first place, so he'd rather not think about it. Also, since this looks like a serious job, our hero makes sure to tell Lulu that she is not going to get any discount this time. Lulu instantly says that she will pay the fee without any discount because she is worried for her friends. As a matter of fact, she is ready to even pay an extra fee if that is what it takes to get Fran and Syrah back to their healthy conditions. Our hero figures that she would not mind paying for saving her girlfriends, so it makes sense for her to be so agreeable. After all, when he had healed Fran the last time, Lulu had paid him the full amount because she did not even want her to have Scar. Since Lulu is such a good friend, Elise does not have any intention of charging her a higher amount than what she usually does. However, it would help if she knew what exactly led to the girls getting into this state. This will help her understand what could be the cause of the injuries, which will in turn help her come up with a remedy. Now, Lulu decides to take us to a flashback where she says she and her friends had finished taking care of some kobold monsters outside of town. She and the girls wanted to come back to town just before it got dark, but then something bad happened. Shiki does not understand why the girls were taking care of such monsters, so Lulu explains that their numbers had been increasing by a lot off late. Since the nest was getting too big for anyone's liking, the guild had started posting more requests for this particular job. Now, Lulu continues her story and states that some more kobold monsters had showed up while they were on their way back. In the middle of this chase, Lulu had gotten separated from Fran and Syrah, but they were still able to regroup as the sun started to set. However, by this time the other girls were in a pretty bad state, so it could be that something had happened to them while they were separated from Lulu. Shiki thinks that the girls may have picked up some strange kind of mushroom and eaten it, but that is quite wrong. Elise thinks that this could be the work of a monster, so she asks our hero to go get some documents. In the meantime, she will continue to work on the girls, so Shiki gets going. Since the clinic is located close to the town's outskirts, that would mean that it's easier for adventurers from the outside to drop by. Since there are lots of kobold monsters showing up, this could mean that Shiki and Elise will get a lot more clients now. Having said that, the increasing number of monsters is not a good thing at all, so what's really important is to figure out why it's happening in the first place. After some running around, our hero comes back with the documents that Elise had asked for, but to his surprise, he sees both Elise and Lulu are working on Fran and Syrah. They ask him to wait outside, because they have to inspect Syrah's curvy body and Fran's flat table. Of course, such a sight would awaken anyone's intrusive thoughts. But to our surprise, Shiki simply gives the girls a thumbs up and tells them to carry on. However, he does not intend on waiting outside, because he would like to see how things continue from this point forward. Elise and Lulu try to explain what they are doing by saying it is a routine method to check if the girls are suffocating. Lulu once again asks our hero to look the other way because they are going to see some twin peaks. As expected, Shiki says that he needs to be present here because he also needs to find out how Fran and Syrah got to this condition. Elise does not have time to waste, so she gives our hero the look of death, after which he decides to turn the other way. He does mention that the curvy babe's twin peaks also look like they are suffocating underneath her clothes, almost as if they are about to burst open. After analyzing the marks on their bodies, Elise states that Fran and Syrah have been poisoned by a monster. The curvy babe then asks our hero for the documents that he just brought, because she needs to use them as reference for the poison patterns. It turns out that the culprit behind this is the Crankhite turtle, which is a big monster known for being able to release a poisonous fog. Judging from the patterns, it just has to be the turtle monster, and Shiki also seems to recognize this name from somewhere. This is when he recalls the time when Syrah had shown him a subjugation request. The turtle monster's name was written on that form, and now our hero puts two and two together. The recent rise in kobold monsters is because of the Crankhite turtle releasing its poisonous fogs neath the town. Shiki can get rid of this issue by using his dispoison method, so he asks Elise and Lulu to step aside for now. He then takes a look at Fran, who is still under the effects of the poison fog. Shiki remembers that the flat girl kept being mean to him ever since they first met each other, so this is a chance for him to make her feel indebted to him. He unleashes his healing powers and instantly cures both Syrah as well as Fran, much to Lulu's joy. She hugs her friends with relief, and then Syrah thanks Elise and Shiki for helping them out. Of course, Fran still has a smug look on her face, but she gives Elise a big smile while showing her appreciation. This is not what Shiki had hoped to see, but then he realizes that it would not matter even if the flat girl owed him one. After all, it's not like she would ever admit such a thing. But then Fran walks up to our hero to tell him something. She mentions that he had used healing magic lots of times when they were fighting the giant slime monster, but he did not run out of power back then. Even now, he has been able to remove poison from her and Syrah with ease, so she wants to say thanks to him. This is a big deal for Fran because she seemed to hate Shiki, so Syrah hugs her and tells her that she did an amazing job right now. Fran tells her to stop with this behavior because it's a bit embarrassing for her. Shiki only comments that Syrah should stop spoiling Fran with so much love just for doing the bare minimum. It's time to move on from this incident, so the girls ask Shiki to join them on their subjugation mission, because they would definitely need his healing magic to counter all the monsters out there. If he is by their side, then they will be able to take down the crank-height turtle with ease. Since there is no other option for our hero, he decides to say yes to the girls, and the next day, he sets out on his new mission with Yule. They say goodbye to Elise, and she tells them to be careful during their mission. She particularly asks Shiki to take care, and it touches his heart to see how much Elise worries about him. He tells her that he'll be fine, but then she says that she does not want him to try anything shady with the girls while on the mission. After all, she does not want to be the one to get him out of custody if he does something like that. Our hero is devastated to learn that this was what Elise was worrying about, but he still smiles and promises not to let his intrusive thoughts take over, or at least he hopes so. He does mention that he has Yule with him, so he will need to be on his best behavior. The slave girl is not paying attention to what her master is saying, because she can't take her eyes off of Elise's twin peaks that are shaking much more than they usually do. Shiki looks at her for confirmation, so she says yes, and then Elise states that she understands why such a thing is necessary. After all, the town is in danger, and these monsters need to be taken care of before they cause more damage. She then tells our hero that his healing magic is too good to be confined to just her clinic, but her clothes seem to be struggling to hold her curvy body. Yule can only watch on in amazement to see what the female body is capable of achieving, and then she looks at herself only to get disappointed. With that, Shiki and Yule leave, although the slave girl looks a bit too traumatized by what she has just seen. Obviously, Elise does not realize what is going on, so she simply bids them farewell and safe return. Our hero comments that Elise's body also cannot be confined to such tight clothes, but he does not say it out loud to avoid getting kicked out for good. Now, Lulu calls him over to join the subjugation force, but he is surprised to see that she still wants to fight despite seeing what had happened to her friends. He asks her if she's serious about this, so she states that she couldn't wait to be with him again, which is why she waited for him to come to her. Our hero wonders if she is being serious right now, or just messing with him like she did before. Lulu notices the life bracelet that he's wearing, so she asks him about it, and he tells her what it's for. He also mentions that he got a matching bracelet for Yule, which makes the slave girl blush with joy. Lulu seems to be jealous of this, so she also decides to give Shiki something from her side. It's an earring, but then Lulu explains that it's a magical stone that will stick to our hero's ear. She puts it on his ear, and then reveals her own to say that even they are matching now. Lulu tries to act cute, but Shiki knows her very well by now, so he asks if she is trying to scam him. The curvy babe says that she is not pulling a fast one on him, and only wanted to give him some kind of charm because it is his first time fighting outside of the town. This makes Yule a bit jealous, but there is no time for drama, so Shiki asks Lulu why Fran is recruiting members to join the subjugation force. After all, beating monsters outside the town should be the job of the knights. This makes Lulu realize that she hasn't told Shiki a very important fact, which is that Fran is the daughter of the town's lord. This comes as a very obvious shock to the healer boy, but then the rest of the squad shows up, so he has to keep his calm. Fran has arrived with a whole set of knights, and then she says it's time to go and beat the Crank-Height Turtle. The team gets on its way into the forest, and some time passes by till it becomes gloomy. Seeing the sky makes Shiki believe that it could rain anytime soon, but Lulu is only interested in looking at the pretty view from here. Yule decides to enjoy this sight because the town of Melheart does look quite nice from this spot. Fran tells the slave girl that she seems to get the beauty of her city, so she offers to tell her everything about Melheart's history. Yule is interested in learning new things, so she says yes, much to the surprise of Shiki and Lulu. We learn that Fran comes from Lulu, Nalmer Hills. Shiki asks what the daughter of such a lord is doing as an adventurer. She explains that it could be taken as some sort of reverse inheritance. Back then, Fran's parents had arranged for a match in terms of a husband, but she never liked the idea of marrying someone, so she opposed it. This led her to shoot a fireball into the crotch of her husband, which pretty much annulled the marriage. Shiki is shocked to hear this, because even though such an injury can be healed with magic, but that was still a very savage thing to do. It was due to this behavior that the Lord kicked Fran out of his castle and told her to go fix her hatred towards men. Of course, since Fran's parents would still worry about her, they decided to send Sira to take care of her. Basically, Fran wants to become the next lord of the city, so she decided to join the knights as an adventurer to help them with their duties. Obviously, this is due to her status as a noble girl, otherwise she would never have been allowed to do such a thing. Our hero finally adds 2 and 2 together to figure out that Fran wishes to make him, and the knights witnesses to her acts as an adventurer. If she is able to take down the turtle monster, then her achievements will exceed her hatred of men. That may be true, but the reason why Sira called out to Shiki was because she wanted the right people to be around to save Fran if things went south. Basically, both Sira and Fran are childhood friends, which is why she cares so much about the flat girl. Suddenly, one of the knights comes in to report that the Crank-Height Turtle has been spotted near the river. We get a good look at the monster now, and it does not appear to be friendly at all. The Crank-Height Turtle can sense his enemies coming closer to him, so he becomes alert and lets out a roar. The knights panic because they have been found out, so they need to start acting on the main plan right now. Our hero, however, lets his intrusive thoughts take over once again, and he comments that none of this would have happened if the girls wore a different kind of armor. Lulu tells Shiki that they will be counting on him as everyone moves forward to attack the turtle monster. The front line will have Lulu leading the way, while the other knights will just be there as decoys. During this plan, the backup will include mages and archers who will use their powers to launch rearguard attacks. The healers will stay close to the frontline fighters so that they will be able to heal them from the poison fog. After all, since these fighters are going to be so close to the beast, getting caught in the fog is something that they will not be able to avoid. The turtle monster kicks things off by unleashing the poison fog, but it does not look like it's at the same power level as when Fran and Sira got attacked. Thanks to this, the team is able to keep the beast from moving away from its position. Now the Crank-Height Turtle gets caught into the plan and is unable to do anything at all. From the looks of it, this should be an easy win for Shiki and the team. Fran begins a spell which requires a long chant, so Shiki asks her if she is fine with this. The flat girl does not seem to have a problem with the spell, but Shiki tells her that this mission might get over before she has the chance to unleash her favorite fireball attack. The beast continues to struggle, so Yule says that something does not feel right about this whole thing. It's so easy for the team that one can't help but feel sorry for the Crank-Height Turtle. However, Shiki reminds Yule that if they leave it alone, then it will continue to cause harm to the people of the town. They have no other option but to take it down over here and end the matter. But Yule tells her master that this is not what she is worried about. She wants to know why the turtle monster is not moving away from its spot and continuing to receive the attacks being fired at it. Anyway, Fran is done chanting her spell, so she tells everyone that she is going to let it rip. Lulu tells all of her frontline fighters to retreat in order to avoid getting caught up with the spell. Now the flat girl chooses to unleash not a fireball, but an onslaught of thunder rain, which is her new finisher move. What follows is a brutal attack on the turtle monster, which receives a direct hit. All that's left is smoke coming out of its body, so Fran lets out an evil laugh and asks everyone if they just saw her amazing power. Shiki takes a look at the turtle monster and asks if they really got him this time. But that's when Yule screams that it's still alive. As she rightly says, the crank-hiked turtle opens up its eyes and gets up as if nothing even happened to it. The roar is loud enough to stun both Fran and Syrah, who are unable to move at this point. The turtle monster now charges at the girls with all its might, so Lulu calls out to her friends because they need to get out of there. It's of no use, as the monster is way too fast for them to dodge it, so things are not looking good for the team. Both Fran and Syrah are unable to move, but then Shiki swoops in like the hero he's supposed to be, and even Yule drops in to help Syrah run away. Shiki grabs Fran and picks her up, after which he mocks both the girls for just standing there and not moving at all. Fran is a bit taken aback by what the healer boy has just done, but there's no time to think about such things because the turtle monster is on a different kind of rampage. The team is barely able to dodge the attack, but they are fine for now as the turtle monster bashes its head into a giant boulder due to the power of its attack. This time, the beast goes down again, so Shiki wants to confirm if it is really down and out for the count. Of course, Fran can feel our hero's hands all over her body, so she ends up scolding him for being shady. She demands him to let her go, and she even starts attacking him for what he's done. Shiki does let her go, but then Syrah tells the flat girl that she should show more gratitude as Shiki and Yule just saved their lives right now. She says that she did not ask to be saved, and if our hero had made one wrong move, then even he would have faced the same fate. She wants to know why he would do such a thing, so he says that she was right in front of him, which led him to believe that he could save her. He also adds that Fran is fairly light when it comes to weight, and a lot of that comes from the fact that she is a flat table. But this is just in his head because he does not want to be attacked right now. Lulu and the others rush to our hero, and they ask if everyone is alright. After they take a look at the monster, they realize that it was protecting its eggs, which can be seen inside its nest. Shiki then realizes why the crank-hiked turtle was not moving away from its spot, because it wanted to protect the baby turtles. Since Fran's thunder strike ended up burning the eggs, there was nothing that could be done about it, which was why the turtle monster decided to charge at her with rage. Now that they have an unexpected situation at hand, the team decides to split up into two main units, so that they can rush back to the main road. Suddenly, some movement happens in the ground, so everyone tries to figure what is going on. It looks like the charge attack from the turtle monster has sent some shockwaves into the ground from the boulder it had hit. The ground under Shiki begins to crumble, and he loses his balance right in front of Fran. He trips due to this movement, and is falling backwards where there is no place to land on. Yule calls out to her master and rushes towards him, but it looks like it might be too late to save him. The scene goes dark, and after some time, our hero opens his eyes to see himself inside some kind of cave. For a moment, he does not know where he has come, and can only hear the sound of water flowing next to him. He then notices something else in front of him, and it happens to be his and Yule's clothes next to a fire. Shiki wonders what just happened with him, and then he hears Yule calling out his name. She is right there next to him, and she is crying with joy to see that her master is finally awake. She hugs Shiki because she is happy to see that he is still alive, but he is still a bit confused to see Yule in this state. The slave girl is covered in bruises, so Shiki uses his X-heal move to heal her instantly. Now he wants to know exactly what led to the both of them being trapped over here. So she explains that after they defeated the crank-hiked turtle, the cliff had collapsed, which led to Shiki falling into the river. Our hero now recalls that when he fell from the collapse, Yule had jumped right after him to keep him safe. She says sorry for taking all his clothes to dry because he could have caught a cold in his state. Yule was able to use a magic tool to start a fire, so their clothes should be dry soon as well. Shiki wonders how this is possible because Yule does not have any magic tool to begin with. On top of that, he can also see some drop items on the ground, which can only mean one thing. Yule was protecting her master from monsters while he was knocked out. She simply smiles as he says this. But Shiki knows that there are a lot of kobold monsters living in this forest. He feels bad because his slave girl was keeping him safe this whole time, implying that he is a burden. Yule simply says not to worry about her because she will do anything to keep her master safe. She will keep him safe even if it would cost her life, which is something that she had said earlier as well when they had first met. Our hero pats Yule on the head and thanks her for her service because she did an amazing job. Of course, Shiki wants to scold her for being so reckless, but he is not in the position to do so. He does not want to live if it means losing Yule, especially because no amount of healing power can bring back those who have lost their lives. Now, the both of them dress up and our hero gets his hands on the magic tools that are in this cave. Since they have gotten their hands on these items, they might as well bring them back, and one of these tools looks like a gun. Yule is clueless because she does not know what a gun is, so she asks her master if he is familiar with this item. Our hero figures that such weapons do not exist in this fantasy world, so he tells her that he also knows how to use this tool. Yule finds this impressive because she feels a gun would be a complex item that is hard to operate. Shiki admits that he has never touched a gun before, but desperate times call for desperate measures. To Yule, it might look like Shiki is a master of all because of how much he knows in general, but that is due to his appraisal skill, which he unleashes once again to see how he can use this gun. It is called a slime jelly jar, which means that it is used for cooking slime jelly by means of removing the smell from its meat in order to bring out the flavor. Another use of this tool is that it can take out fires, which means that it is essentially a mini fire extinguisher. It's the perfect timing for such a device, so Shiki decides to try it out on the fire that was drying their clothes. The tool happens to work just fine, but it does not look like it is shooting out water. The substance is a bit sticky, so Shiki is left in an awkward position, as Yule also wonders what this could be. She asks her master about what he just shot out, and he realizes that the gun is using slime jelly, which can be used to entrap its targets. This explains why the gun is known for taking out fires despite no mention of any water. Of course, our hero is only making a guess for now, and he prays to God that this is not another shady toy like the one he had collected earlier for his solo missions. Shiki decides to flex a bit in front of Yule, and says that she will need to be at his level to know how these things work. The innocent slave girl calls him amazing, but now the duo needs to find a way back home. They step out of the cave and see the night sky beginning to form around them, so Yule asks what they should do now. Shiki recalls that the knights had said something about an unexpected situation right before he and Yule fell into the river. Keeping this in mind, it would be smart to regroup with them and figure out what they mean by that. Shiki feels that if they follow the river, then they might find their way to the road. Yule is fine with this, but the look on her face suggests that she is hiding something. Shiki figures that Yule might be tired because she did just spend a lot of time fighting monsters to keep him safe from harm. He asks his slave girl if she is tired, and he offers to carry her. But Yule says that she can manage by herself as she does not want to be a burden to him. She also says that they need to move fast because it is going to get extremely dark soon. Luckily, since she is a dark elf, she will be able to see clearly even in such conditions. Shiki realizes that Yule is talking about night vision, which means that she has a lot of unknown abilities. Our hero does not know how far he and Yule have been swept away, so he tries to use the map he saw earlier as a reference point. It based on the map that our hero is hoping to find the road if he follows the river. Also, if Lulu and the team are out looking for them, then it could be possible for them to meet along the way. On top of all this, there is still something that is bothering Shiki, which is the fact that Yule is being a bit too careful right now. He has never seen her act this way before, even when they used to go on missions in the labyrinth. From the looks of it, The elf girl doesn't seem like she is going to last long at this rate, and to make matters worse, it begins to rain. Now, Shiki tells Yule that their destination is still a long way ahead, and he can always heal her as long as she is not hit with a finisher move. Also, the both of them have their life bracelets, so they will be able to survive at least one such attack each. He asks Yule to relax, but she still can't seem to shake off the feeling of fear from her mind. There is a sudden sound that makes Yule panic, but it just happens to be some leaves that have fallen due to the rain. The elf girl is still very alert, so our hero figures that she will not be able to relax for a while. He wonders if a person needs to be so alert while walking through this kind of forest, because it's his first time over here. Shiki then decides to ask Yule if she has been here before, and it causes her to react in an odd manner. Our hero realizes that he may have touched a nerve there, especially since Yule would have had a bad past due to her status as a slave. Shiki tries to change the topic, but then Yule attacks a small bat that creeps up behind him. Now she finally reveals that she was an abandoned child who would live in an orphanage. At times she would go to the forest to hunt monsters and earn money for the people she would live with. This orphanage is located in a small town near the forest, but it was shut down at the same time when she was sold as a slave. Shiki then realizes that it was this moment which led to her being shipped to Melhood for being traded in a wounded state. His face shows some worry, so Yule tries to cheer him up by saying she is happy to be here with her master. However, as she says this, the elf girl falls into Shiki's arms, which confirms what he had though about her being tired. She is also shivering from fear, so Shiki recalls the time when he first saw her. Yule was severely wounded back then, but no slave trader would harm their own slaves because that would mean bad business. Basically, this means that Yule was badly wounded even before she was traded to the slave trader. Our hero wonders if her injuries were caused while she was being shipped to Melhood. But the worst part is that this forest is on the way to the town. Shiki adds 2 and 2 together to find out that a monster must have attacked Yule somewhere around here while she was being shipped. Yule starts to cry, and she says sorry for keeping a secret from her master this whole time. She can even feel the monster calling out to her every time she is about to say its name. The scene grows more terrifying with thunder and darkness as Yule explains that the monster is not a kobold or a crank-height turtle, but something far more dangerous. Just as she is about to tell Shiki the name of this beast, it actually shows up right behind him. Yule pushes her master away as the monster launches an attack on him, and she takes the full force of the blow. Shiki sees her bracelet coming off and breaking, which means that she has been saved from losing her life. We then see the monster in its full form, and learn that it's some kind of ogre and orc hybrid beast. It is on a much higher level than a kobold or a crank-height turtle, so our hero and his slave girl are in big trouble. Yule regains her senses after being smashed into a tree, but she has used up her life bracelet, so she's at risk now. The orc monster comes closer to her, and things are not looking good, so she calls out to her master for help. That's when Shiki shows up from behind and whacks the orc monster with his mace to save Yule. It doesn't do any damage to the beast, but it does get his attention, so he turns back to look at our hero with anger in his eyes. Shiki is in disbelief to see that his attack had no effect on the orc monster, and then it slashes at him with full force. Our hero is just about able to dodge the attack, but this is way too risky for him to pull off on his own. He figures that he does not have much of a chance fighting against this beast, so he needs to distract it while he escapes with Yule. Shiki takes some of the soil in his hands and throws it into the monster's eyes to keep him occupied. Once this is done, he uses his X-Heal technique on Yule so that she can run away with him. Shiki picks her up because she is still tired from her earlier battles, but she asks her master to put her down so that she can buy some time with the monster. Now, our hero realizes that the main wound on Yule when he had first seen her must have come from this demon beast. Yule does not say anything at first, but the look on her face is more than enough to serve as an answer. Shiki can feel her shaking in his arms, which means that she is very scared of this beast and what it can do to her. He also notices that her bracelet has been broken, so if she takes another direct hit, then she will be done for good. The worst part is that they are not fast enough, so the demon beast will easily catch up to them at this pace. Shiki can hear its footsteps coming closer to them, so he is left with no other choice but to do something heroic. Someone needs to stop this monster. So Shiki makes a decision that Yule will not like him for, but will just have to deal with it. He turns to his slave girl, and she gets ready to receive his order, but it turns out that he uses his position as her master to command her to run away from here and leave him alone. This comes as a huge shock to Yule, but since she has a slave crest, she will have to obey him no matter what. After all, this is how masters usually take advantage of their slaves, but Shiki is not like that. This is the right time for him to use this kind of power, and he decides to be the one who will keep the monster busy while his slave girl can run away to safety. She does not want to leave her master alone at all, but the crest forces her to run away from the scene against her wishes. As she flees, we see the monster coming closer, but our hero is ready to take him on and prove that he is indeed worthy of Yule's praises. Of course, he needs to figure out what kind of demon he's up against, so he uses his appraisal skill to identify it as an arms ogre. This happens to be a mutated version of the beast, which means that it has sharp claws to go with its hard skin. It is such a deadly demon that it is feared by both humans as well as monsters. Shiki figures that this could be the reason why the other monsters have not shown up in the forest, but he needs to come up with a plan as fast as he can. He checks his bag for things he can use, but he finds his dried up slime jelly, which is his shady toy for solo missions. He can't do anything with that, but he remembers he still has the slime gun, which he can use to stop the demon's movement, even if it is for a mere moment. Our hero unleashes the power of his slime jelly, and it covers the demon in all of its slippery glory. Just as Shiki had hoped, the arms ogre slips from all the jelly and finds itself inside a hilarious lotion pool. As much as our hero would love to use this on cute girls, he is out of bullets now, so all he can do is aim for the legs of the demon. He aims for the joints, because that is where the skin is softer than the rest of the body, and lands a direct hit. All of this seems good enough for our hero, but he wonders if he was able to get the job done. He has to get out of here, because the rain is washing away the slime jelly from the monster. Shiki was able to put up a brave face in front of Yule, but he knows he is no match for the arms ogre. He figures it would be best to let the knights take care of the demon, because they have the armor and the weapons that can get the job done. This way, he won't have to worry about making his slave girl anxious about him. And even though he would look a lot cooler if he beat the monster by himself, he should just focus on escaping from here. Since that is his top priority, Shiki does not mind revealing his true powers to the knights, and even working for them in exchange for them getting rid of the arms ogre. Now, our hero lets his intrusive thoughts take over again, as he imagines Elise falling in love with him over the fact that he will enroll as a knight. He then imagines asking the curvy babe to cook some more cookies for him and Yule once they're back home. However, his dreams are laid to waste as he feels something pierce his body from behind. Our hero falls to the ground and notices that his life bracelet has been broken as well. He sees a blade in the middle of his chest, and that's when he realizes that the arms ogre has the power to throw his claws as sharp blades at its opponents. This kind of mutation is not like anything Shiki has seen before, so it comes as a shock to him. Now, Shiki uses his X heal on himself and realizes that he was stabbed in the heart, so if it wasn't for the bracelet, then he would have been a goner. He needs to get out of the firing line as fast as he can, so he tries to escape. However, the arms ogre fires one more claw at him and aims for his legs, so our hero gets a direct hit. He does not want to scream out of pain because he is running out of time, so he uses X heal once again to get away from the scene. Survival does not look on the cards for Shiki, as the monster catches up to him and is about to attack with a finisher move. Just as things are about to get intense, Yule shows up from behind and calls out to her master. She lands a slash on the arms ogre, but Shiki is shocked to see that his slave girl came back for him, even though he gave her an order. The demon strikes Yule away, and she lands on the ground, after which it is about to attack her. Luckily, this was the distraction that Shiki needed to fire the monster's claw into its own eyes. He calls out to the beast in a challenging tone and strikes it with his mace using all his strength. It's a tense moment, but the demon slips because of the earlier leg injury caused by Shiki, and this allows our hero to land a finisher move by smashing the claw into the arms ogre's head with his mace. With this strike, the demon finally falls to the ground completely defeated and lifeless. Shiki rushes to Yule and asks her what she is doing here, so she says sorry for disobeying his order. That's when he sees that she had scraped off the skin on her shoulder, which had the slave crest on it. This had allowed her to come back for her master, even though he had ordered her to run away. As expected, Shiki uses his X-Heal on her and says sorry for giving her an order despite having promised that she would only live freely with him. Yule also says that it was something that happened during the heat of the moment, but at least the gamble paid off. Even so, Shiki feels ashamed of himself because he was saved by Yule once again before finishing off the monster. He could not do anything by himself, whereas he had promised to keep Yule safe from harm. Of course, his slave girl tells him that he is not pathetic at all, because he did save her life, no matter how he may look at it. Also, she believes it is her duty to protect Shiki, so she could not leave him all by himself. The rain has now stopped, and they have defeated the Arms Ogre, so things are looking good for them. Yule has also stopped shaking with fear, so she is finally over what had happened to her with the Arms Ogre. However, the coast is still not clear for our hero, as we see some shaking in the bushes nearby. That's when we see some wolf demons coming out of the forest, and they turn out to be a pack of kobolds. They could smell the scent of blood from this battle zone, which is why they have arrived to feast on their prey. The problem is that both Yule and Shiki are tired, so there's not much that they can do to combat this. The kobolds pounce on the duo, and Shiki considers letting Yule run away again, but then Lulu arrives in the nick of time to slash down one of the beasts. Both Shiki and Yule are surprised to see the curvy babe in action, but she is glad to have made it. It's not just her who has managed to reach, but also Fran as she unleashes a fireball attack on the other kobolds. The flat girl seems to be bothered, and even has tears in her eyes, so Shiki is a bit confused. Anyway, Lulu is just glad that they were able to avoid a close call, and then the rest of the knights show up to take care of the remaining monsters. Shiki drops to the ground and comments that he and Yule have been saved, but he can't understand how the others were able to find them. Lulu comes up to our hero and asks if he's alright, but since he does not respond, she wonders if he is even alive. It leads to a hilarious moment where Lulu asks him if he is a ghost now, but all her touching tickles him, so he tells her that he is very much alive. Now the curvy babe notices the Arms Ogre on the floor and realizes that it is a subjugation target. What's even more impressive is the fact that Yule and Shiki were able to take it down without any extra help. Yule says that her master was able to beat the demon with his mace, so Lulu says that it's very impressive. This beast's nails could sell for a very high price, but she notices something that is wrinkled on the ground. It happens to be the dried slime jelly, so our hero decides not to talk too much about it. Now Fran comes up from behind and thanks him for what he has done. She can be seen with tears in her eyes, but she tells Shiki not to get the wrong idea. After all, she would never live in peace if he were to lose his life over this. Our hero can't believe that Fran is such an emotional person, but she could have expressed herself in a much better way. Anyway, the important thing is that everyone is safe now, and the knights will take care of the ogre's corpse. Shiki is told that he can expect a fat reward for his efforts, and then Yule tells him that she is feeling sleepy now that all the danger is over. The slave girl falls asleep, so Shiki picks her up, and then everyone walks back to the town. Our hero tells Lulu that he is surprised at her ability to have found him when he needed it the most. However, Lulu explains that it is all because of the magical tool that she gave him earlier. It turns out that the person wearing one piece will be able to find the person wearing the other piece, almost like a tracking device. Lulu had bought this after she got separated from Fran and Syrah the last time. But Shiki finds it creepy that the curvy babe can spy on him whenever he wants. Now, Shiki asks her if she is going to make him keep the item even though the mission has been completed, and she says yes. Basically, he tells her that she will be able to track his location no matter where he may be, and it causes her to get nervous. She tries to act cute, but Shiki knows that she is just trying to distract him with her curvy body. As a matter of fact, Lulu can just use this to get a hold of him whenever she wants free healing or treats at the bar. Keeping this in mind, Shiki gives her back the earpiece and says that he does not need it anymore. The curvy girl says sorry for this, but our hero can't be mad at her, because this thing did save his life. The team is almost back at the town, but then Shiki realizes that the knights had gone back to the town in a rush right before he fell off the cliff. He wants to know what happened then, so the girls point to the corpse of another turtle monster. Shiki is shocked to learn that there were 2 of these beasts, but then he learns that such monsters have been increasing in numbers after making lots of babies. After seeing the first one's nest, the team suspected that a child is already moving around somewhere, which was why the knights had rushed away back then. Fran states that this is bad news, so the others ask why, especially since the knights have beaten it. She explains that the poison gas released by the crank-height turtle can spread even further when exposed to rain. This means that the whole town must be in a state of panic. We see it in full effect as loads of people gather outside the healing clinics demanding to be let in. The knights try to maintain some order, but it has no effect on these people. Seeing all of this mess makes Lulu suggest helping out the knights. But then Shiki realizes that Elise must be having her hands full as well. Without further ado, our hero leaves this place to the girls and leaves for the clinic to help out Elise. His guess was correct, as there are loads of people outside the clinic and Elise is in a spot of bother. Shiki comes back to ask if she is fine, but she states that he looks much worse than anyone else around here. He only says that a lot has happened since he left for the mission, but luckily for him, his current state made people think that he was the most desperate for healing, so they let him in through the back gate without asking for his powers. Elise asks our hero if he is fine, so he mentions that his bracelet may have broken, but it's thanks to this that he is still alive. He then mentions that Yule is totally tired, which is why she is resting for now. Suddenly, the slave girl wakes up, so he asks her what happened. It turns out that she could hear what he said about the life bracelet breaking, so he confirms this. It causes her to feel bad, and Shiki has already seen this before when she had failed to protect him once upon a time. Such a feeling leads Yule to fear losing the relation that she has with her master, and her eyes fill with tears again. After all, losing the matching bracelets is like losing a precious memory to her. The slave girl is trying her best not to let out her tears, but it's very hard for her to do so. This worries Shiki because even though she is being brave, she is not able to hold back anymore. She has already done so much for her master, first by saving him from the cliff fall, then protecting him while he was passed out, and then saving him from the arms ogre as well. This kind of ending is too sad for her, so Shiki won't have it at all. However, with all the people waiting outside, our hero needs to help them as well, so he needs to think of a way to replace the bracelet for Yule. That's when an idea strikes his mind, so he tells Elise that he and Yule will be going out for a bit. She seems to understand what he's trying to do, so she tells him not to push too hard out there. Now, our hero carries Yule outside and takes her to a high point just as the sun is about to rise. The slave girl does not know what is going on, so Shiki tells her that the town is in a very bad state. There are actually 2 of the crank-height turtles, which means that the poison gas has spread to way too many places. By the time they got back, the whole town got covered in this gas, which is why people are going crazy trying to get healed. Yule can't believe that such a thing has happened, and her master proves it even further by pointing out to all the people who were waiting outside Elise's clinic. Too many people are in need of healing, and such a task will not be possible for healers to do all by themselves. Due to this, there will be some casualties, and Yule is very sad to hear this. Of course, Shiki is only lying to Yule, because the people will not die from this kind of poison gas. This is because such a gas is only released to slow down the movements of the enemy. At best, all it will do is cause some nausea to its victims. Also, with the knights in action, they should be able to manage it somehow. Now, Shiki tells us that he is not lying to make Yule sad, but rather, it is acting from his end to make her feel special. Now, Shiki strikes a heroic pose and tells Yule that he is going to save this town from tragedy. However, he tells her that she can't reveal this to anyone. Otherwise, they might try to come and steal his powers. This is why what he is about to do is going to be a secret between him and her. This makes her excited because it is almost like a secret between lovers, which is obviously something that Shiki does not want. He plays along for now, although he does not know how true this part may be. After all, from Elise's words, she might already have an idea of what our hero is about to do. The main thing is that he is able to save the town right now, only because of the fact that Yule saved him. The bracelet might be gone, but it is proof of having protected him, which means that it has served its purpose. Now, Yule feels special because she believes that she has saved her master's life, which in turn has led to the whole town being saved. With that, Shiki concludes his acting because Yule can now be proud of losing the bracelet, rather than being sad about it. He tells his slave girl to remember this moment, as it is the one where the person whom she has saved has ended up saving the lives of an entire town. Our hero unleashes his ultimate area dispoison move, and the whole city gets healed in an instant. Even Lulu and the girls are amazed to see such a high level of healing magic, so they wonder who it could be. Now that the people have calmed down from the poison, the city has officially been saved. As the sun rises, Shiki and Yule come back to the clinic, where Elise is eagerly waiting for them. She looks at our hero and tells him that he must have done something impressive with his powers. She can see that he is fluttering, so she asks him to get some rest for now. Shiki is glad to see the curvy babe's smiling face, but this also causes him to relax too much, and he lets go of his strength. He falls straight into the heavenly softness of her twin peaks, and this causes both the girls to be shocked. Yule is hilariously feeling jealous, but there's nothing that Shiki can do as he is unable to move. He tells us that he does not mean to be creepy, but he genuinely does not have any power left. He fears that Elise may be angry at him, but the curvy babe allows him to rest his head in between heaven for now because she knows that he is tired. With this, the case is close to end a long battle involving Crank-Height turtles and the arms ogre that Yule had feared. These threats have been eliminated, and our hero gets a handsome reward for taking down the demon. Even Elise's clinic becomes famous after the poison gas incident, so all is finally well. Shiki wakes up from his long rest and hopes to see Elise baking cookies while Yule enjoys them. However, what he does see is Fran's father, who has come to him stating that he will marry his flat-table daughter. He even talks about holding a wedding date, which shocks not just our hero, but also the girls behind him. Yule can't believe that her master is getting married, and even Lulu is unable to digest this fact. Elise is the most shocked out of all the girls, so she wants to know the meaning of this. However, the most confused person over here is Shiki himself, who wonders how it ended up like this. He demands to know what exactly is going on over here, but is it too late for him? Will he be married to the girl who would always scold him? And what will happen to Elise and Lulu, both of whom also seem to like Shiki? Like, share, and subscribe if you liked this video. Hit the bell icon to get notified when I upload part 4. See you soon.